Okay, so let's continue our discussion of A Gesture Life by Chang-Rae Lee. So we left off in chapter 4, and Hada was in the hospital. He had befriended a young girl named Veronica Como, and his interactions with Veronica sort of start triggering memories of his own relationship with his own daughter, Sunny. And it turns out that Veronica's mother is a police officer, Officer Como, and in the past, when Sunny was a rebellious teenager, she had many run-ins with Officer Como, uh, who um, who warned Hada at the time that his daughter was involved with some criminal men who were involved with sort of criminal activities, drug dealers, and just not a very sort of good bunch of people to be for a young girl to be hanging out with. So in chapter 5, we see this memory come back to Hada as he recalls some of the sort of more difficult periods of his rearing of Sunny. So when she was a teenager, she got into some trouble. Her rebelliousness kind of caused a rift in her relationship with her father. Last chapter, we also discovered that, Sunny is actually doing very well for herself these days. She's working in Ebbington Mall. So she works at sort of a retail store selling women's clothing. And her father has no idea what she's doing these days. So he has been completely estranged from his daughter for years at this point. He doesn't even know that he has a grandson. And, Sunny has now she has a son of her own, and he has no idea that this son even existed. So in chapter 5, we get a little bit more insight into what causes this rift between Franklin Hada and his adopted daughter Sunny. And we sort of get a little bit more insight into what goes wrong with their relationship. And during Sunny's sort of adolescent years, she was a sort of rebellious teenager. You remember that she sort of quit her piano lessons. She felt sort of like she was failing her father's expectations of her. And then she starts hanging out with sort of some older men who are, a bad influence on her. That her father deems are inappropriate, and they have a bad reputation around town. Officer Como confronts Hada and says, your daughter is involved with these kind of criminal types. They're sleazy men. All they do is, do drugs, and Sunny has become involved with them. So rumors are that, she is sort of sexually promiscuous, sleeping with these men in this sort of sleazy house. And then there's this one particular man, Jimmy Gizzy, who has a criminal past. He's a high school dropout, 25, sells pot, all that kind of stuff that would be inappropriate for a young girl to sort of hang out with a man of that nature. And it is a problem for Hada because it is also sort of, he wouldn't want a daughter of his to sort of have these rumors about her, because it would also sort of, he's afraid, I think, that it would ruin his own reputation. So Hada he becomes almost like this patriarchal figure, right, where his reputation as a man kind of hinges on the proper behavior of his daughter. And he's concerned about her reputation, her proper conduct, and she's rebelling against all of those high expectations that he has for her. So the way she rebels is to become sort of more sexually promiscuous, and he finds this, intolerable, right? And this causes this rift between them. So Sunny confronts her father and accuses him of only caring about his reputation. This is on page 94. She says, I don't want anything, she said, as though saying the words harshly enough would make it so. Nothing. I don't want love, and I don't want your concern. I think it's fake anyway. Maybe you don't know, but all you care about is your reputation in this snotty, shitty town and how I might hurt it. He says it's nonsense, you're speaking nonsense, but she accuses him of just caring about his reputation. And then she says, all I've ever seen is, but all I've ever seen is how careful you are with everything, with our fancy big house and the store and all the customers, how you sweep the sidewalk and nice talk to the other shopkeepers. You make a whole life out of gestures and politeness. You're always having to be the ideal partner and colleague. And then he says, firstly, I am a Japanese. So there's something about his identity as a Japanese man living in America that sort of he wants to maintain a sort of reputation of being reputable and polite and gentleman, very sort of have a good reputation, good standing, social standing within his community, and these are all important to him. She sees him as just being sort of a fake, having a kind of false facade. She says your whole life is gestures and politeness, and she says all you care about is your reputation. So she's really sort of attacking her father, saying that he is just concerned about his own reputation. He doesn't really care about her, and that, her being promiscuous, he just cares about the fact that it's ruining his reputation as her father. And then this ends on page 96 with father and daughter sort of this rift in their relationship. She moves out of his house and severs their relationship. So this is sort of the point where they become more estranged from one another. She says, I'll sleep where I want, she said bitterly. And then he says, then I won't have you living in my house anymore. I won't allow it. It disgusts me to think of what you're doing there. You cannot degrade yourself and expect for me to provide you with things. And then she says at the bottom of page 96, I don't need you, she said softly and without remorse. I never needed you. I don't know why, but you needed me, and it was never the other way. So we get a little bit more insight into the emotional divide between father and daughter. What tears them apart is the sort of independent spirit, Sunny's sort of willful spirit, her rebelliousness, and her sexuality as well. So her promiscuity is sort of the breaking point for her father, who wants to control her, and it seems as if, her freedom, her will to express herself how she seems to want to do it. So her sort of sexuality, her independence, her sense of autonomy clash with her father's very strict and sort of proper sense of reputation and order. So that's the clash between father and daughter. Oh, I apologize for all the cat meowing in the background. I have my cat is bothering me today, so sorry about that.